Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. Welcome to another edition of the Smoking Barrel. I'm Rustin Edwards, based in Geneva, with my illustrious co-host, Mr. Matt Stanley, in the United Arab Emirates of Dubai.
You don't know where you are. You're like a boat that's turned its AIS off.
Yes, yes, I could be in Geneva, I could be in Dubai.
That's a real, God, geeky, niche, joke that. Sorry, that was shit. Hello, morning everyone. What a bloody weekend. So we recorded Friday. Lots has happened. Back to normal though. No, not back
Um,
to normal. Back to where we were.
Back to where we were. Let's rewind the tape. Go back to where we started on Monday of last week. We're back to there.
Yeah. So I tried to put it on my commentary this morning. When I say tried, I mean I am. Okay, so what happened? Right. So we recorded Friday. We were talking about, and you were explaining in the way, brilliant way you do, about what reopening the Straits really is. Friday afternoon, I get a call from, well, about 20 calls in the trot. Arachi, who's the Iranian foreign minister, said the Strait of Hormuz is open. My phone starts blowing up. Brent drops $9 a barrel, down to 86 at one stage. And then Trump tweets the Strait of Iran is open. All is okay. Don't know why he called it the Strait of Iran. Um, and this is a good day for the world. Brent closed down $9, whatever it was, to not just above $90 a barrel. I met this with quite a lot of skepticism. I called my insurance mate, who said to me, "Nope, the insurance market still doesn't think the Strait is open. The Joint War Committee haven't done anything." I called you. You were like, "No change," um, and that's Friday afternoon, right? Was that pretty much a fair summary?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. And then going into Friday evening, at least European time, we had the attempted breakout. A lot of ships started heading towards the strait.
Yeah, I'm trying to get up. We've got a dashboard that lists all the crossings. I do have it on PDF as well. Let me just bring it up one sec. Um, oh, hang on. What's this? My data visual engineer, because we have one of those at Kepler, has just posted a playback of the video with verified crossings and oh, this is interesting. Right, let me share this. Hang on. Share. Number four, screen four. There you are. So this is hang on. Sorry, internet's really slow. Can you see this?
That's coming up. It's just as you said, if your data feeds are slow.
I
There
think
we go.
there we go. Right. So this is what date is this? 17th of April at 13:20. So here's the Strait of Hormuz. Here are the usual traffic separation schemes. This is Larak Island, this is Keshem. Here is a couple of Raycons and Fujairahs down here. So let's have a look at this. This is fresh off the press. Look, there they go. Well,
Yeah.
hey, let's just go back. Sorry, hang on. Just watch this. Watch this this fleet here, this armada.
Yeah, and I think it was right around that time is when the ship started making
Right.
U-turns again, around midday on the 18th.
And then again, nothing's coming through. There's a few bits there.
Well, you have some ships that are trying to make it through, but the difference between this shutdown is, it's unclear based on the announcements from the IRGC is even are they allowing ships to go through with their toll booth? And if you look at it from the 19th onward, it looks like, yeah, if you're paying your toll, you can go through.
Yeah, see, look, this is when if we go here, I mean, this is 10 o'clock on the 18th. So I'm not sure. That was probably you. That's probably universal time. So you can see the different cargoes here: tankers, red, blue is the passenger vessels, cruise liners. They're taking a different route, aren't they?
Yes.
So the tankers are going up here, and the passenger ships are going down here. So, but look, so this is when things started to go right. Here they go. There they don't go. So we saw 24 vessels cross on across all liquids and LPG and LNG and dry on Saturday. That was the highest since the 28th of February by some distance. We also saw um, what else did we see? Petcoke LPG, some gas oil cargoes going into Thailand. We saw one going into some petcoke going into Ravenna. We saw some gas oil going into South Korea. I mean, a fair mix. And I think what it did was, if we're gonna put the positive hat on, if once there is a proper agreement with modus operandi, a clear, almost like an IMO endorsed passage system, it's clear that vessels will go, right, let's go, and they will do it.
Yeah, I believe you're absolutely correct. So I think vessel owners want to get their ships out of a blockaded area and want to get them back into a market where they can trade.
But did you hear
So,
some of the did you hear the I sent you the from the bridge of that master, the
the Semar Hammer, or
yeah, let me get it so you can hear. This is gone around the market, so it's not this was at I got this at 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Let me see if you can hear this. Can you hear that?
no, no.
Can't hear it. Okay.
This is
No? Anyway, look, let me try one more time. Can you hear that?
no.
Anyway, okay. It's basically saying, we paid you, we're second on the list, and then you got these gunboats who just opened fire, and that's when everyone started panicking again on Saturday. And then the Americans didn't respond until this morning when when the marshals, well, no, who boarded the
The
this
Marines,
container?
the Marine Interdiction Force, boarded the Tosca, which is a Iranian flagged sanctioned container ship.
But didn't you say the other day that if that container ship has got food and medicine on board, that they can't do that?
They should not do it if it had food and medicine on board, because that goes again against humanitarian aid versus not. Now, if the ship, not, hearing the entire 6 hours of radio transmissions between the U.S. Navy blockade vessels and the Tosca as she attempted to run the blockade, if the ship maintained radio silence and did not respond to any of the hails by the U.S. Navy vessels, then they have to assume she's not carrying humanitarian goods. Maybe she's carrying military goods.
Right.
Um,
I've just seen the breaking news. Iran says no decision on whether to attend next round of US talks, which isn't a no.
that's very strange because they've been fairly adamant saying they weren't going to go for the last 2 days.
Yeah.
And now for them to say they may go, interesting. But is this just another delaying tactic where they go, they have a cup of tea, everybody says we had great discussions and nothing formative comes out of it?
I mean, look, so I know we recorded Friday, so there's not a lot that's happened apart from a lot that's happened. But the lot that's happened isn't a lot that's happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, because we're back right back to where we were when we recorded. I mean, if you look at crude, crude's running right around 95, $96 a barrel, which is, oh yeah,
Yep.
that's kind of where it was when we recorded on Friday.
So here's the thing. The ceasefire expires Wednesday morning.
Yes, it does.
Talks are there. Um, like I said, JD Vance and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are probably in the air now on their way to Islamabad for talks. Islamabad is preparing. Iran has said, "No, we're not sending anyone," and now they've said, "We haven't made a decision yet." Which, to me, in the way things are going, means they'll probably send one at the 11th hour, and it'll all be drama because they're holding all the cards. Straight off, Hormuz is closed. So in that chat tomorrow that they have, the best scenario, best outcome for the world, and I don't mean to be dramatic there, for the world is we've come up, here's our 10-point plan. We've got all agreement. Everyone's agreed. Everyone's had to compromise to a degree, which is understandable. And we've had approval from the shipping community and the insurance market that the Strait of Hormuz has reopened. There might be a different routing, but the Strait of Hormuz has reopened. Flat price comes off again, and ships can start flowing. And in 2 or 3 months, we should be back in an environment where the world is not holding hands, but stuff is flowing again. We're just in a much more cynical world than we were 3 months ago. That's the best case, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think your best case scenario coming out of this is yeah, we don't resume any kinetic activities between Iran and the United States. I mean, my own personal thought here is that we might come out of here with another extension of the ceasefire,
Yes.
which is good.
Yeah.
Um, if we can get both parties to agree to allow transits of the Straits of Hormuz, that would be unmolested transits of the Straits of Hormuz, because there should be no reason for anybody to have to pay a toll, because again, that goes against the UNCON passenger vessels international law to have the Straits of Hormuz under it as a toll booth and given to the wholehearted control of the IRGC.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the sticking point is going to be on India HIPAA Transit is that it's going to become one of these things like as soon as there's something they don't like, okay, we shut the Hormuz again.
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it?
That is the problem because it
So
is
we
this.
could be okay. So that's the best case scenario. Now the worst case scenario, right, is Iran either don't turn up, um, the US turn up and they're waiting around like for Iran, and then suddenly because of that, then the ceasefire is ended, hostilities start again, and the Middle East is in a worse place than it was when initial kinetic activity was happening. That's the worst case, right?
Yes, and honestly, I would think that if there's no indication that anybody from Iran is going to show up, I don't even think the U.S. delegation arrives in Pakistan. I think they will take that plane and go somewhere else because they don't want to be in the middle of potential missile fire with the vice president in the air.
Cheerful. Now, the in between that, which is probably where we'll get to, is more than likely. I think Pakistan were pushing for like a 60-day ceasefire, something like that. There would be limited but increased traffic through the Strait of Hormuz via the new separation scheme and possibly a toll, because people like the Iraqis and Kuwaitis are probably going to pay. They probably will to get their oil out, right? And just
Well,
add it.
if you remember, if you recall, there was some type of an agreement made between Iraq and Iran to allow Iraqi cargoes to go through without molestation.
Yes.
Is it the Iraqis are pay because there is a bit of I said partial alignment between Iraq and Iran. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to comment on that one,
yeah,
but
yeah, but I mean,
it was
but
called the
nevertheless,
Sanmar Herald. That what I was trying to explain to you was the master of a boat called the Sanmar Herald,
which was an
which,
Indian flagged oil tanker.
yeah, she's got 270,000 tons of cargo on board. She's currently, no, she's at anchor, or she's turned her AIS off. When did we last see her? An
Well,
hour
she
ago. She's back the other way. Let me show you her tracks.
yeah, I think she's currently inside the Gulf still.
She is.
Yeah,
She is here. Look, this is what happened. So she went up here, and
and she
then
got
this is the thing.
attacked
Yeah.
right there, and then she turned around and went back in.
Yeah, and now she's back here. She's been there for a while, so she's at anchor now. But she's a VLCC going to IOC with 270,000 tons of Iraqi cargo on board. So
Yep.
that's an Indian flag, and the Indians are be like, "What are you doing?" And it's an Iraqi cargo. So it's clear that the IRGC is just any boat.
Well, that's kind of and and this is a bit of the politics of what's going on inside Iran. Is the IRGC doing whatever they want to do, and you have the politicians trying to do what they want to do, and they're not aligning,
Yeah.
which adds even more. confusion to the whole situation because how can you actually believe what anybody says if you don't have coordination and alignment between the different arms of the Iranian government?
Because if I look at Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, crude exports to India, there'll be a lot on the water. There would there should be a lot on the water. Now, where do we pick that up? 4.5 million tons. I'd have to check. Most of it's some of it's gone through, you see.
Well, again,
Uh,
it's one of those things that there was some agreement between India and Iran to allow oil to go to India.
see, we've got two cargoes ex-Iran that have gone into India because they're allowed to buy their oil, that crossed the Strait of Hormuz earlier on this month.
Hmm.
So yeah, look, I mean, what's that Sanmar Herald's given ETA the 29th of April? That's the one that was fired out on
Yeah,
Saturday. I mean, that's a big diplomatic issue between the Iranians and India, right? As well.
yeah, of course it is. Because, India doesn't see themselves as a belligerent in any of this. They're willing to buy the Iranian oil.
Yeah,
So
and they are, and the Iranians said that Iraq volume was allowed to go through, so it's clearly not. Okay, all right. I mean, look, that's one example. So markets priced out $10 a barrel on Friday, right? There was
yep.
a lot of CTA selling that we saw, 54,000 lots, a lot of positioning that moved. We're only up $5 this morning. I thought it'd be around that, but we're not pricing back in as much risk as we're pricing out. Now, what is that the market's kind of saying? Well, it because again, I'm going to talk about Clyde. He wrote another really good piece this morning. I think he does it on purpose every single time he knows we're gonna record. But why is the market pricing out more than it's pricing in? Why is it risk? Why isn't there as much risk being put on markets this morning compared to being taken off on Friday?
I can think of a couple of once burned, twice shy. Uh, a lot of traders have been getting ran over by these massive moves based on tweets and um, changes in stance by a fickle politician and or the Iranians.
Right.
And so you probably have people who are a bit gun shy trying to pile on risk, thinking, well, are we back to where we were 2 weeks ago, or are we going to have a deal? And so I think nobody puts there has been some risk coming back on, but nothing near the same size that was there um, that came off, as you said, back on Friday. So I think you got a bunch of people who are a bit gun shy about trying to add back to positions where they could get ran over again. Because all it takes is to have, oh, yep, the Iranians showed up in Pakistan, meeting's on, oh, we have a peace accord. Or, okay, the Iranians showed up and they're, throwing their teacups at each other. Okay, no peace accord.
Because I suppose if you're looking at it, if you were to sell the market right now, what's your downside? No, I mean, if you sold it right now, 95, it's not going to get below 75 here, is it?
Well, I don't think at this point it can get to 75. I think your risk is that if you sell 95 right now, going to 110 could happen in a heartbeat.
But so could 85 as well.
85 could, so your risk reward is not really there to put a position on and position yourself because I would say it's a coin toss at this point.
It is. We're at the pivot point, aren't we?
And so you can't say that I want to go and go long or go short without having a real world view, and without any clarity as to how the parties are going to respond in peace talk or
Yeah.
negotiations. It's hard to say what can you do. And I can say just from the lack of oil that's been exported out of the Persian Gulf, lack of refined goods, there is a case that structurally you should be long spreads,
Yeah.
but do you get in at the current spreads or do you wait for a pullback and then you get in?
Well, I mean, the argument is that a lot of people have had is, and why isn't flat price higher? oil should be a lot higher than it is. And I agree with you. I don't think that that's how people are pricing in this oil risk. I think that markets are up 40% compared to where they were a year ago, right? Or
Sure.
even, maybe even higher. But the argument is, and this is what Clyde said, he said, amid all the volatility and uncertainty in crude and refined product markets created by the US and Israeli war against Iran, one thing has been consistent, a view expressed through crude futures pricing that the conflict will be short and the Strait of Hormuz will reopen soon. The problem is reality seems to be heading the other way.
Well, I would agree with that statement, but I would also point to the fact that we have also started to see significant demand destruction around the world.
Yeah,
And so that could also be playing into Kate because what's the cure for high prices? High prices.
yeah, absolutely.
And we've already heard of rationing in different areas in Asia. We've got is not Israel. Ireland has had problems with their fuel supply, and they've had riots break out because of it. So I think, and you've seen airlines cancel flights all around the world.
Yeah.
And shipping, there's a lot of shipping that's not really moving because you have cargo flows that are kind of screwed up. So you
Well,
do see some real world demand destruction that's happening. I was just about to talk about the European refining margins.
yeah.
You know, refining margins on a forward curve have started going negative. Why are they going negative? Because the price of crude is so much where your product return is not there. Therefore, you have no incentive to continue running at full rates.
Because I mean, I've been using gas oil as the sort of bellwether for um, positive and strong cracks but
Well,
actually, when you look at gasoline, that's really dragging the barrel down.
gasoline is dragging, but it's also a combination of you've got extremely high freight rates that have only started now just coming off. But I think,
Yeah.
they came off last week or on Friday with everything else coming off because, oh, the straits are open. All these ships are now going to be released back into the market. Okay, that didn't happen. So I'm wondering, as the freight market comes in and starts looking at things, are they going to reprice everything higher again because markets are again bottlenecked?
Yeah.
But with that high price of freight, because you're talking for an MR or for an LR1, 40, $50 a ton to do a move that pre-war was $20 a ton or $10 a ton.
Well, look, VLCCs look weaker, down 20 cents a barrel on the week, $8 from US Gulf Coast to China, Suezmax down. Um, yeah, okay, yeah, interesting.
So,
I hadn't really, yeah. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Because it's what this conflict is doing is pulling and pushing so many people in different directions that I do think that a lot of people are losing focus. And because they're worried about so many other parts that could upset like, say, for example, say if we're trading on the fuel oil bench and you're talking about what was it? Singapore's going through some demand destruction, right? I forgot where the article was, but something in Platts going on right now. You might have all your eyes though, not on that, not on the weak east west or whatever it may be. I forget where the article was. I'll find it. It was a Platts article. Boo. Um, yeah, submarine fuel arb arrivals from the west to drop further in April.
sure,
Um,
because the arbs are closed. The arbs are closed by almost $40 a ton.
Yeah, but if you're not got an eye on that and you're thinking about, oh my God, the strait's going to open, all that Alzor volume's going to suddenly start flooding, and I'm going to sell spreads. You might have your focus not in on the right place. Is that
Well, but
fair?
that goes back again to what we were talking about on Friday with the state of the NOC refineries. Because outside of Qatar, everybody's been very quiet about what type of damage or what type of output they're going to expect from their refineries. And if they scale down operations, bringing
Yeah.
things back up carries risk and takes time. It's not an instantaneous flip the switch, start the refinery, we're back to 600,000 barrels a day of throughput.
We did see this morning that Citra restarted their one of their units,
Okay.
which is a good news story. Forgetting what that is. Um, But again, like, I mean, blimey, we're jumping around so much around, it's difficult. But you're right. I think that traders are losing a bit of focus when it comes to that. But let's not forget the Ukraine drone strike on two apps yesterday was huge.
Yes, it was. Everybody, the issue in the Middle East, because it's such a huge impact to the global energy spectrum, everybody's lost focus as to what Ukraine has been doing against Russian oil infrastructure over the last 3 weeks, with strikes up in Pimrosk, Ust-Luga, Novorossiysk, Tuapse, Sumy,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to think of the other two refineries, but nevertheless, but they have been doing a lot of kinetic damage against Russian oil infrastructure, which piles on to everything else. And I think a lot of people are forgetting that war is still going on.
Yeah, the guys are putting out. This is something from internal guys. They're putting out a news article today. Russian refined product exports are at their lowest since November, as attacks on downstream assets and ports, Ust-Luga intensified and disrupted ops. April refinery runs are at a multi-month low to just around 5 million barrels a day, with overall refinery outages at just under 2 million barrels a day, up from 1.1 in March. I mean, that would be a significant, and we say this a lot, I know, that would be a significant bullish argument anyway, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would be. Because if you think of all the gas, oil, and high sulfur fuel that Russia exports to the world, and that's a lot of gas oil that's missing from the marketplace. And you almost want to say that if you look at the current, okay, where we are at gas oil right now, front month is at 1,095, June is 1,023. So you've got a $70 spread. It's like, oh, that
Yeah.
$70 spread seems to be weak compared to where it could be because you don't have the Iranian or the Middle East oils coming out, as well as degradation of Russian exports.
Yeah. That's probably bearish freight as well, isn't it? On the Suezmax market, especially.
Well, you'd think LR2 would be bearish freight, yes.
Okay, so look, we'll probably have to record tomorrow because all would have changed by then. Who knows? And it's my family are still away. For those who have been asking, I appreciate it. And like, comment, subscribe, Smoking Barrel. But yeah, those who've been asking about, is everyone all right? Yeah, they're fine. They're all still away. I'm here on my own, which is fine. It's good. There's a lot of people back. Schools went back today in Dubai. Not everyone has chosen to exercise that. There are shelter in place drills, which is quite frightful to think about kids having to do that, but that is what it is, sadly.
It
Um,
reminds me of the nuclear war drills we used to do back in elementary school in the 1970s,
yeah,
1980s.
their answer is no plans for next round of talks as US not serious about diplomacy. Uh, I mean, it changed three times in a half hour that we've recorded this morning. So yeah, you're right. Look, I mean, it's a moving target. It's very difficult to trade. It's it we're trying our best to maintain as much color and transparency on what's going on as possible. But I think the talks have to happen. If they don't, we kick off again. I really hope we don't. But that is the inconvenient truth, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Well, and the unfortunate thing about this whole escapade in the Middle East war, sorry to be flippant about the name calling of it,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, is the fact that the impact to the global economy is huge. And
Yes.
we all have not felt it yet, but we're starting to feel it. There's going to be shortages of materials. There's going to be, higher prices. All those high costs are going to start rolling into everything that consumers purchase, and it's going to start scaling back consumption across the board. And, we all see it in gasoline prices first because that's the easiest thing to price when things go cattywampus.
Yeah.
But as we start getting into consumer goods, those prices will start going up and we'll start seeing it in our food bills.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to you this morning before we let go. So I need a couple of small bits done in on the ceilings just because we had some flooding, of course. And my builder said, look, after this, he's going to shut down his business until September because there's no paint thinner, there's no paints, there's no MDF, there's no gypsum to repair my ceilings. And I said, all right, mate, you don't have to give me that many excuses. I know you're a builder for how much you want to charge me, but he said, look, Jebel Ali just doesn't have it, right? And it's not I'm saying that anyone needs to panic or anything like that. It's just there needs to be some urgency put against things that need to be settled up because people are extremely flippant about it, and it's becoming a serious situation.
Well, supply chains are broken right now. And it's going to take a while to get them fixed and to get them back into a place where we all can say normal. I mean, as we're talking here, we're talking about shortfalls and potential cancellations. I just got an email from EasyJet talking about their summer fare sale. Book your flights today.
You can get a good deal, why not?
Well, I mean,
Anyway,
you juxtapose that with the warnings from the IATA and from the
yeah,
IEA, sorry, about Europe's going to run out of jet fuel in 4 weeks.
EasyJet wanted to be 3 weeks, it seems like. Anyway, all is well. Let's chat tomorrow. Let's see what happens. Keep your eyes on those headlines.
Yep. Click like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be chatting with you later.
Ciao.